Are you a BMW purist who is upset by the recent rise of hybrid powertrains, increased weight, and massive lung grills? Well, you will be happy to know that BMW still offers a low-slung, sleek-looking twin-turbo V8 with no hybrid assist technology M-powered sports car. Well, here it is, the 2025 BMW M8 Competition Gran Coupe. And I think this is definitely an interesting competitor to the new BMW M5, which I have driven. Link is somewhere on the screen right now. What gets me about this is that it's a bit of a more old-fashioned take on an M formula. It's a bit more enthusiasty, and it's a bit more catered to the anti-gimmick crowd. Inside the interior there is just an older version of BMW iDrive, completely out of date. It's not even worth talking about. Again, no plug-in hybrid technology anywhere to be found in this car, so it weighs in at a rather light 4,400 pounds. You can still get yourself a brand new M8 Competition Gran Coupe, which is what we have here. This car, once again, has no plug-in hybrid assist anywhere in this car, no plug-in hybrid at all. There's nothing to plug the car into. It has an engine, a big old V8 under the hood, and a battery, like a traditional battery that you can buy at O'Reilly's. I wanted to make this video about this car because one, I haven't done an 8 Series yet, and I thought, why not do the best possible one that you could buy? And two, the 8 Series has been out for about 3.5 million years, and I was wondering how well it holds up in 2025 now with all of these plug-in hybrid M cars, Teslas clogging the road, lung grills on every other BMW. I wanted to see how the oldest car in BMW's lineup currently holds up to 2025. But before we take a review type tour of the 2025 M8, let me give you all a little bit of background just in case you don't know what's going on here. So BMW, being a luxury car brand that focuses on driving experience, that's their whole thing, have always had a line of 2/4-door, stylish, luxurious GT cars. This goes back very far into BMW's history, into basically the 1930s, which I'm not really going to get much into. What I'm more interested in on this channel is the more recent types of cars. So I think the lineage of the M8 and the 8 Series in general can be traced all the way back to the BMW E9, the 3.0 CS, which was known to be an absolutely gorgeous, sleek, long two-door car, very stylish, very beautiful, and it had some racing pedigree with the Batmobile, the 3.0 CSL, all that stuff. Then that ended up leading into the E24 BMW 6 Series of the late 70s and 1980s. Then the E31 8 Series replaced the E24 6 Series in the early 90s, and it was supposed to be a bit more high-tech, a bit more luxury focused. It was absolutely beautiful, but what kind of let it down was its driving experience. That's what I heard. And there was no full-fat M version. There was an M8 concept, and there was an 850 CSI, which had a lot of M car traits. Then the 6 Series came back to replace the original 8 Series in the early 2000s, and went until around 2017, where it was morphed into some 6 Series GT tall crossover mutant thing. And the 8 Series was left to take over again in the late 2010s. And this is what we have now. BMW's largest and most stylish grand touring car right now is the 8 Series, but there is word in the pipeline that it's going to be replaced by a 6 Series again. I don't know why they keep changing their minds, 6, 8, 6, 8, 6, but that seems to be what they're doing. So right now we have the current 2025 8 Series. I know that history lesson was a bit of a mess, but their whole history with larger two-door GT cars is kind of a mess. It's hard to explain it very well. So what we have here is a 4-door version of the M8 titled the Gran Coupe, which started off with the previous generation 6 Series Gran Coupe and the M6 Gran Coupe. Turns out that having a 4-door version of your sleek 2-door GT car but still making it beautiful sells, and it works out. And this leads me into a bit of a confession. While yes, the current M8 is very beautiful indeed, definitely a better looking car than the M5 is right now, I've still never really been sold on the look of the 8 Series. Something about it just screams F32 4 Series that had a little bit too much Christmas cheer and ate too much over the holidays, and now it needs to get its body back in shape for summer. What I'm saying is this looks like a bloated 4 Series, just the regular 8 Series, in my opinion, especially the two-door model. I've never really been into the looks of that car, which I think is quite a controversial opinion. But what I'm saying is I can't look at one of these things and not think fat 4 Series. And I hate saying that, but it's true. I can't get into the way this car looks. But maybe I can get into this car's interior and the driving experience. So let's move this along. Let's check out the back seat of the M8. Now, soft closed doors, that's one thing. As you can tell, that's what you'd expect. Now, compared to the somewhat smaller M5, I am noticing there's less room back here. It's not super comfortable. This seat is moved pretty much all the way back because I'm 6'3", so it's in my driving position, and it's not comfortable back here. Straight up not comfortable. I mean, if you're planning on carrying people around in the back of a larger BMW sedan, your only real bet is the 7 Series. The 5 Series and the M5 have barely enough room back here to be passable. This M8, for being such a large car, is pretty pathetic. But because it is an M8 Gran Coupe, it is longer to accommodate more room for the rear passengers, because since it has 4 doors, it's a bit easier to throw people back here. When you throw people back here, you want it to have a little bit more room, and it definitely does, but that's not to say that it's comfortable. It really isn't. Putting aside the unfortunate level of interior comfort I have back here, this has a sort of upgraded half full merino leather and half Alcantara interior. This is a $3,500 option, this interior, and I think it's definitely worth it. So I start by looking up here, and you notice that it has an Alcantara lined roof, which is kind of what you'd expect for a car of this price. But you move your hand along it and it feels really nice and high quality and luxurious. But the Alcantara moves down the pillars. A, B, and C pillars are all lined with Alcantara, and the top of the dashboard up front and the door panels, even on the back door. Below that, you have some aluminum to surround the door handle and this Bowers & Wilkins speaker cover, which looks very beautiful. And they have quilted caramel colored leather below that, another beautiful aluminum speaker cover, and a black leather armrest with some of that same caramel colored stitching on the side. And even touching the very bottom of the door panel where you'd expect to find cheap plastic. It's definitely probably one of the worst materials in this car, but saying the worst material in this car is still pretty nice. Honestly, it feels very nice. And what I love about this is that so many cars will have all this styling and nice elements on the actual door panel in the back and then up front too, but the pillar separating the front and rear doors is always some cheap plastic, and they don't continue the design theme, which bothers me a little bit. But that's not the case in this car. It's the same stitched leather on the bottom, and then this caramel color above that, and then at the top where it meets the actual pillar. This beautiful door panel design continues from the very back of the back door all the way to the front. It provides a level of continuity that a lot of luxury cars skip out on, which is what I like to see, and I think that sort of sets it apart for being more of a luxury car. These materials, everywhere you look, everywhere you touch, everything feels, looks absolutely beautiful. They really put in a lot of effort to make the inside of this car feel special to its occupants, and I think it definitely does. Also, it is a 3-seat seating arrangement back here, but you wouldn't want to be stuck in the middle seat, because not only would you have a transmission tunnel, you have a full center console back here that separates the 2 back seats. You really only carry 3 people back here if you absolutely have to, and that middle person's not going to be happy because this comes up very high. But it's supposed to be more special for 4 people, 5 people in a pinch, and I'm surprised to see a 3rd seatbelt back here, honestly. But this center console right here incorporates some air vents, some carbon fiber on top, and a full climate control setup, dual zone with heated seats. And there's a blank button there, and I bet that's for cooled seats. Sucks to see a blank button. That's a bit of a letdown. But you do have full climate back here. Again, dual zone. These seats also continue the whole luxurious look with the quilted caramel colored leather, beautiful leather stitching everywhere you look. And they're designed to sort of mimic bucket seats back here. They have these little headrests that you can almost see yourself sticking harnesses through. Even though the people back here will be fairly cramped, I don't think they'll be upset because back here it is still an absolutely gorgeous, lovely interior. Oh, and furthering that theme, power window shades, which is great. And I also have one for the back window there. Power window shades is only something that you see in the most expensive of luxury sedans, in my opinion, and this car has it. So soft closed doors, dual zone climate control in the back, and power window shades to complement an absolutely gorgeous back seat. But unfortunately, it's quite cramped. Up front, the driver's seat of the M8 Gran Coupe. And as I've said before, this interior level of build quality and materials is absolutely amazing. And if you want to find cheap plastic in any car, it's always right here, but not here in the M8. And the thing about the 8 Series, this current 8 Series, is that everywhere you sit in the cabin feels rather special. So I sit in this comfortable but very well supportive seat. Again, has this beautiful caramel quilted leather right here, but also continues on the seat with M badges embossed in the headrests and contrast stitching around the outside of the seat. It looks gorgeous, it feels comfortable, and it's quite supportive and nice. You do have adjustable thigh support, but unfortunately it's manual, so you have to kind of move it in and out yourself, which is not what I'd expect from a $150,000 car. That's what this one is up for right now. But it's a nice seat, it's very comfortable, you can't really complain too much. A lot of this interior is basically older BMW stuff. Right up here, like I've said before, this is an older version of iDrive. This is iDrive 7. I think the only 2025 BMWs left that have iDrive 7 are the Z4, the X4, which is going out of production, and the 8 Series. So this is probably the last year that you'll be seeing iDrive 7 in anything. Some people like iDrive 7.
There
like
is
iDrive
just
7,
an
but honestly,
older
I don't
version
care
of
because
BMW
Apple CarPlay is
iDrive,
wireless,
completely out of
which is
date.
in this
It's not
car.
even worth talking
You
about.
don't need
Again,
any infotainment.
no,
But iDrive 7 is fine and it's easy to use and pretty gimmick free. In a car like this, I think I would prefer to have iDrive 7 because you're more focused on the experience of driving and the feel and sounds that the car provides. Infotainment doesn't matter in a car like this. But the fact that iDrive 7 is here means that you have manual buttons for climate control. It's not buried in a sub-menu, which is very nice. Also, you have a button here where you can turn off all the electronic safety nannies, which is good. And heated and ventilated seats are also provided for you up front, which is great. Back here you have traditional BMW M automatic gear selector. This M8, unlike the M6 that it replaces, has automatic transmission only. The M6 had a manual or a DCT. Around the edges of it, you have some controls for your M type things. You have your M mode, which can be road, sport, or track. And when you put it in sport, the whole gauge cluster changes to make it a little bit more focused overall. And if you put it in track, the whole iDrive system turns off completely. And beneath that button, you have setup where you can control, compared to the M5, not that many things. The M5, its setup mode has probably 20 different menus. It is pretty ridiculous and overwhelming. This only has engine, chassis, steering, brakes, and your MX drive, which can be switched into two-wheel drive mode. But it's nice to press setup and see it's still quite configurable. It still can be pretty overwhelming for people coming from something like any 24 M6, but you can do that. Also, on the steering wheel, you have your M1 and M2 buttons. These are your saved drive modes, so you can have one for relaxing driving and one for serious sporty driving. Also, it has auto steer and radar guided cruise control, which is very nice. Maybe not as sophisticated as something like the new M5 probably has, but you have something anyway. When you're stuck in traffic, you can have it drive the car for you, which is nice. Speaking of nice, once again, the materials of this interior, everything feels nice. I mean, this panel below the center here that is mostly just facing the side of the seat, you would never think to touch on any car, and if you ever do, it's usually cheap, nasty plastic. Here, I swear this feels like Alcantara. It's hard to tell, but this is the nicest like below center console panel I've ever felt, and it's just bizarre the fact that it's so nice. Nobody's ever gonna touch here, but man, I'm glad that I did because it feels great. I really can't find any cheap plastic. Oh, there we go. At the very bottom front of the driver's door here, right next to the hood release, I can feel plastic. That is the only cheap plastic I can find anywhere in this interior, which is insane. It's ridiculous. Maybe there. Yeah, up there is not great either, but you really have to look to find cheap materials in this car. Sure, it doesn't have as many gimmicks and fun things to play around with as the M5, like the crystal design element in the dashboard that can be changed to show the M colors, but if you just want to drive the damn car, this is amazing. No gimmicks, just an M steering wheel, leather wrapped right in front of you, more focused gauges, an outdated infotainment system that you don't even need to talk about, beautiful materials everywhere you look and touch. The interior of this car should be enough to make any BMW purist and enthusiast happy. Definitely makes me happy, that's for sure. So let's look underneath the hood and take this car out for a drive. So yes, the new BMW M5 has 4.4 liters of V8 glory combined with a plug-in hybrid system to make 717 horsepower, but it weighs 1,000 pounds more than the old M5. What does the 25 M8 have to compare with that? Well, it has a 4.4 liter twin turbo V8 without the plug-in hybrid garbage, so that it weighs in at a featherweight 4,400 pounds. But compared to the new M5, that is pretty light indeed. And nobody looked at an M8 and thought, yeah, it looks pretty light. No, the M8 is obviously a heavier, more luxurious GT car. And what does it have to move that 4,400 pounds? 617 horsepower. Again, this is BMW's M-Power 4.4 liter twin turbo V8. No plug-in hybrid assist, but it still makes an insane amount of power and a great noise. 617 horsepower through an 8-speed automatic transmission to all four wheels, but the front wheels again can be turned off. What really matters in a big BMW M GT car is how it drives. So let's take it out on the road and find out. Driving the 2025 BMW M8 Competition Gran Coupe, which is a bit of a mouthful. And I want to start where people don't start typically on high performance M cars, and that's a rough, bumpy road right here. So I got everything in comfort at the moment. My biggest complaint about some of these M cars is that on regular public roads, they're not comfortable at all. One point that I have to make is that this M8, because it's supposed to be more of a grand touring type of car, I think that's the whole point of these big flagship BMW 8 Series, 6 Series cars, is that they're supposed to be usable for long distances at high speed, and was just driving on quite a bumpy, rough road back there, and it's not too bad. I mean, the ride quality is definitely informative. It may be a little bit more than you'd like. It's firm, it's on the firm side, but it's not bad, honestly. Some of these M cars are frustrating to me because they're just so rough over bumps. I'm thinking the smaller ones, the M2, the M3, the X3M. Over bumps, driving those things every day, I don't think I could do. The harsh ride would just get on my nerves. These bigger ones are a little bit better though, particularly the M8 and the M5 that I've also driven. So this is basically just a normal regular road that I'm on. I've got everything in the comfort lower end settings and it's fine. It's quiet, it rides nicely. You can feel all the bumps in the road. Like I said, it's informative, but none of it's jarring or horrifically uncomfortable. And that's the same with every version of the 8 Series, but particularly impressive that the M8 is as comfortable as it is. But we are arriving to a point where we want to feel the other end of this car's experience. So I've got engine in Sport Plus mode, and we're going to get it on this road here, check for police officers, and then put our foot down. And once again, it's well over 600 horsepower that this car makes. So it's not quite as powerful as the new M5, but it doesn't have all the hybrid stuff that the new M5 has. So it's considerably lighter. Let's find out here. Wait. Yeah, it's not as insane as the M5, but it's still, I wouldn't call it slow by any means. I don't think anyone could call this car slow. Fast. The handling for such a big, heavy car is also very good as well, which BMW, with their M cars in particular, are really good at disguising the insane weight that they have. You definitely feel that when you're pushing this thing through a turn. It doesn't feel like a massive, heavy elephant. It handles like a sports car. But again, on bumpier roads, it's not desperately uncomfortable. That's why this M8 and the M5 are pretty close together for me when it comes to my favorite BMW, my favorite M car, because they just do everything right. And that's the whole point of the larger numbered M cars over the M2, M3, M4, is that they're supposed to be something you can drive every day perfectly fine, and it'll be comfortable and it'll work 365 days a year, but when you want to, you've got 600 horsepower at the disposal of your right foot. So if you're on the roads and people are driving slow and you want to get a message across, then you can put your foot down and cut people off pretty easily with this thing. Like I said, the 8 Series is getting old. It looks old. A lot of the tech is old. The driving experience, though, never gets old. Something like a 4.4 liter twin turbo V8, 600 horsepower, and an interior that's as well crafted and put together and beautiful and gorgeous as this. The way it rides, the way it handles, the way it goes when you put your foot down, that's never gonna get old. Just the way it drives is just so good. Back on this uncomfortable road here, and the camera's probably shaking quite a bit, but honestly, it's not bad. It's quite comfortable. And that's what I love about this car, is that it does everything right. I would have no problem driving this every day with rush hour traffic. You could drive it in the snow because it's got all-wheel drive. But you could also take it on a mountain road and thrill yourself, all your passengers, and stop off for some new underpants on the way back. With that being said, that's going to do it for me. Like, subscribe, do all the normal YouTube stuff, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye. Drive Logic in Sport Plus and drivetrain in Sport Plus. 730 horsepower thereabouts. Let's see how that feels. Jesus Christ, this is one fast elephant. Holy